They're rolling right along.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Why, often you hear some of your listeners, I think they're smarter than that in a way, but a lot of Americans will say, or especially the Christian fundamentalists, the world is coming to an end, and we're going to have another 9/11, and this and that, et cetera, and the economy is going to collapse. And my feeling is, it certainly looks like that might happen, but why would they bother? I mean, everything, as you say, is going along so smoothly. Why would they disrupt their plans, their well-laid plans over 200, 300, 400 years? Why bother? I mean, the American people are just the most absolute victims of unknowing, happy, not so happy. You just made a good point. Yeah. They're victims, and they don't even know it.
No, they don't know. And when you try to inform many of them, they don't want to know. They might give you their intuition. Okay, I know things are wrong, but I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about all that negative conspiracy stuff. I just don't want to hear about it. I got my own problems. Fine.
Yep. It's pathetic, and we try to make excuses for them, and I have tried for a long time, saying they're busy and the economy is so bad, so deliberately made bad so that they're going to have work 2 jobs, the wife has to work 3 jobs, and make excuses. Then, but when it comes to the bottom line, Jeff, they have to look at themselves in the mirror, and when they get up in the morning, they have to.
Accountability? Accountability? What?
Don't I have anything to do with my government, or do I? Or do I not have a government? Well, actually, they're probably right. Yeah. I'm beginning to think we don't have a government.
Well, I agree with that. That is essentially correct. But let's forget them even beginning to relate to the feds. Yep. Let's talk about them relating to their own elementary school board or PTA. They most of them don't want to even deal with that.
Well, in a way, the ones that have tried have been so, again, that word, victimized. If they're smart and they know or they feel that something is very, very wrong, they're immediately identified. And they're made to look like kooks in the community, and they shut up because, with everything else that's going on in their lives, that's the last thing on earth that they need is to be considered a kook in their small town. And so they do shut up. I think over a period of 30 years, the so-called, in quotes, change agents, who are out to absolutely destroy everything this country has ever stood for, highly trained, and it all comes out of the UN, of course. These people have been very successful, but of course they've had our money, our tax money, to be highly trained, and I just believe that it's gotten to the point now where anybody who speaks out in regard to things being wrong is looked at as you said, a conspiracy monger, or, if you dare read or question, you become sort of like you're not patriotic.
Now that's a good point, because that's true.
Right.
Questioning anything anymore is looked upon as being disloyal, unpatriotic, however you want to term it. But you're right. There's a negative spin on questioning things. Now that's not to say that there aren't some wonderful Americans doing good work. There are, and we know that. But by and large, the average American is cowed, is certainly browbeaten, is certainly stressed with angst and financial debt and all the rest of it, to the extent that they don't want to take anything else on. And if they do stand up, let's say somebody musters the courage, and not everybody has a lot of courage, but they do. They go to the school board and they stand up and they say, well, what about this new textbook? This new textbook is presenting homosexual behavior to our elementary school children as a normative thing. We disagree. We don't want that book in our school. And what happens? they'll get all kinds of obfuscation, and then that obfuscation from the school board members, most of them, and fellow parents will turn to ostracism and vicious whispering campaigns and all the rest of it. This is a right-wing fanatic. There's no liberal here in this community that would ever stand for this kind of talk. You know, what we need to bring our children up in a real world. I mean, come on.
It's not new. I mean, what you're talking about right there, in the mid-'70s, I had an experience. I was an elected official too, and I was a school board member, and I went into my child's classroom. Can you imagine? I mean, as a school board member, I should be able to go into any classroom, because I was basically concerned about how he was doing. I wasn't even sticking my long nose into things like sex ed or global ed or whatever.
Sure.
And the teacher got so upset that she reported me, and this is in the mid-'70s, and lo and behold, I was called in by the superintendent and the chairman of the school board and the head of the teachers union into a small meeting, and they all beat up on me for going even into the classroom, making the teacher nervous, and then they were so rude and horrible to me. I said, I'm not going to put up with this. I said, I'm going to tell the community what you've done.
Right.
And so I did. I wrote a letter to the paper. Mm-hmm. And then all the parents came down on me.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you, Jeff.
And that was in the 70s.
Yes, all the parents came down on me. What right does she have to go into the classroom like that? I mean, you see, they had the parents, not all of them probably, but the ones that managed to get their letters published and be heard in the community. The other ones just don't. They'll tell you in private that they agree with you, but they'll let you hang from the trees bleeding. And the newspaper, of course, was totally against me. Every time they had an opportunity, they'd lie and everything. So this is the only reason I bring this up, is to say that there's nothing new about this. I mean, this has been going on for a long, long time. And so what we're talking about, the fact that parents and citizens, taxpayers, don't dare go near elected boards anymore. And I'm not talking just about school boards. You could talk about your board of selectmen or whatever, because they're going to be ostracized if they question anything that their leaders, their brilliant...
I agree. I'll tell you something else. I am beginning to think that even approaching the so-called status quo at any level can be viewed as potentially mentally unstable behavior, and law enforcement could be notified. I think we're there.
You're not kidding.
That's where we are.
Yeah, it's we're far down the line.
No historical precedent for reversing it that I've ever seen in my study of history.
I'm afraid not. I think a lot of it really has to do with over 50% are totally, I'm sorry to say this, but really uneducated. And when you have a situation like that, you can't expect much.
No, you can't. Hold on, I'll be right back in just a minute with Charlotte Thompson Iserbyt, her magnificent opus to reinstitute those values, to recover those social skills we had as a nation. I don't believe it's possible. Not only do I not see any precedent to sustain that position that I just made, but I don't think we can go backwards for a number of reasons. I think we can only go forward and down and out the other side, wherever that is. I see no reason. How can you retrain people or remind them of what they had when they never were aware of it?
Right. Yeah, well, that's absolutely it. That's what I always say. How can you, if you've never taught an individual the form of government that he has, economic system, etc., that he has a constitution, a bill of rights. I mean, if they've never been taught these things, why are they going to care when George Bush takes us into this horrible, the Security and Prosperity Partnership of North America? Why would they care about anything like that? They think it sounds just great because they don't know they have a constitution. They don't know that they have certain rights that other countries don't have. They don't know we are supposed to have an economic system that other countries don't have. And so that's why we have this situation where the Congress is blatantly ignoring its role in the oversight of our laws, and doing absolutely nothing to counteract what the president is doing under the guidance of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilaterals, etc. I mean, we're losing our country. And there were people like myself and yourself, you Jeff, who've been talking about this for a long time. But now we do have people like Lou Dobbs and a few others who are taking some very, very strong stands, and Jerome Corsi, and some people in Canada are speaking out, because I think they're beginning to see that their system of government is being totally unraveled in front of our eyes, and our elected officials are doing zero about it. And what we are looking at, and before the break, I mentioned that I think I agree. I don't believe there is any turning around here, because the dumbing down, which has been deliberate, is so complete that, people always say once you have more than 50% on the payroll for the government,
right.
You've lost it. Because
that's true.
Yeah, you've lost it.
Yeah.
Well, I say once you have more than 50% illiterate, uninformed, ignorant, in regard to the makings of their country, the Constitution, the form of governance, etc. Once you have that, there's no way back. And it's a small example of this. Well, it's not so small. About 2 weeks ago, the Portland Press Herald here, which is a major paper in Maine, had a very interesting article about the 16 towns in the major county of the state, Cumberland County, had decided to just throw away their local rights, constitutional rights, and to merge with one another in order to get a huge multi-million-dollar federal grant. And that's a perfect example, because right here you have elected officials in 16 towns, and they've all agreed, they got together, and they did this. Now, you can't tell me that those people know that regionalism is communism. I don't believe they know it.
No, they don't. I don't believe they have. I agree with you.
They
totally
don't
agree with
know
you.
that consolidation and planning and administrative planning and metropolitan planning and all of this is communism. And so I just finally, it's been bothering me. I did write a letter to the paper today, and I quoted, and it's in my book. For people who have my book, look under Morris Zeitlin, Zeitlin, if you look in the index. And you'll see a quote which was in the Communist Daily World. That's the new version of the Daily Worker, the old Communist Party newspaper.
Slickly updated, yes.
In the mid-'70s, Zeitlin wrote an article, and within the article, it was in this newspaper. He's a communist writer. He pointed out that regionalism is socialism's trademark. And it worked so well in the Soviet Union, consolidation. And the article's fascinating. It's the most important piece of paper I ever got my hands on, because we've been fighting regionalism for a long time, and some of us, right? But there's a lot out there, and many people don't understand it. But this was one article written by a communist. So I just took the quote out and I put it in a little letter that I wrote. Now, this is terribly important, folks, the subject of regionalism. It may sound unimportant, but it's not. It's important. And what Bush is doing with Martin or the new one up there and Mexico is the same thing that's going on in the European Union, which was referred to by Gorbachev as the new European Soviet.
Exactly. And he was. Regarding problem children in elementary school, behavior problems can be symptoms of emotional, behavioral, or mental disorders rather than merely attention-seeking devices. These children can succeed in school with understanding attention and appropriate mental health services.
That's right.
pharmaceuticals, folks, mental health services. And no word here about diet, no word about discipline, no word about just children being children. These kids need mental health services. Now, go ahead.
Well, if you go back, what we're really, for a long time, Jeff, I've been trying to tell people that we're marching towards the new Soviet Union over here. And people would say, oh, no, not that, Charlotte. It's really fascist. And, well, it does look very fascistic. There's no question about that. But when you talk about the plan, and you were talking about the mental health services and all, the plan was Barry way back in the 30s, I believe. He gave a speech to American students. He was the head of KGB at that time, really a monster type. And he gave, in that big speech he gave to American students who were visiting, I believe, at London University.
This is 1930s. This is the time of the Stalin liquidations of anywhere between 10 and 30 million in Ukraine.
That's absolutely true. And the speech he gave, and they came back and they infiltrated in the United States into education, everything else, and that's why we're moving in that direction now. But that speech was all on mental health and how to use mental health to take the country, to set up mental health clinics, to get the children on drugs, to get them rock music, to use that. Everything. It's an incredible speech that I believe is on my website, the secondary website, AmericanDeception.com. AmericanDeception.com. A lot of these things are the regionalism, a tremendous amount of fabulous research done by great Americans who are now dead on regional government is on that website. I wanted to point that out. AmericanDeception.com. Great website. But getting back to the original plan, which you mentioned, yes. In 1953, Norman Dodd, the director of research for the Reese Committee, which was investigating the tax-exempt foundations, Ford, Rockefeller, and all them, he was called up to New York City by the president of the Ford Foundation, Rowan Gaither, and he was told that the foundations were not making these decisions on their own. They got their instructions from the White House how to spend their money and their tax-exempt money. And the instructions were to use their money to change America so that it could be comfortably merged with the Soviet Union. And that is exactly what's happening right now. And Gorbachev, he pointed it out, as I mentioned earlier, in London about 5 years ago. He said the European Union was the new European Soviet. And just recently, this Soviet dissident, I've read one of his books, Vladimir Bukovsky, he's 63 years old now. He was a very great dissident. He came out. He was speaking at the invitation of the United Kingdom Independence Party, and he said that the European Union was a monster that must be destroyed before it developed into the next Soviet Union. This was in the Brussels Journal. And, so he is saying the same thing. And I have been just on this sort of quiet rampage for quite a long time. And I wrote that article. It's on my website, DeliberateDumbingDown.com, under articles. And it's called Walk Like a Duck, Talk Like a Duck. And that was in regard to President Bush. And I wrote it 2 or 3 years ago. And I listed every single thing that he was doing and how every single thing that he is doing comes right out of the Communist Manifesto. And here we've got this so-called Christian conservative. It's pretty smart, isn't it?
Very clever.
I mean, how smart could they be? You have to give them credit.
I do. We always have. They're very smart.
They're brilliant, and, so brilliant that it's diabolical.
And very effective.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just have it wired. And they run supercomputer models on all these social engineering programs that they're implementing. They know in advance, plus or minus 2 or 3%, how much they can get away with, how much push here, how much take there. They just know. They understand. This is And that's not to say you people. You people are the smartest audience in talk radio, in my opinion. But the average, and I use that term with great hesitation, but I have to, the average American doesn't get it. They just don't. Now, intuitively, yeah, they know things are wrong. They're certainly wrong at home. They're certainly wrong with their finances. 75% of Americans don't dislike their jobs. They hate their jobs.
Right.
And this is a fact. The children are now more dysfunctional with each passing year than the average American will ever understand. We understand it. We see it. These kids are literally being hollowed out and sent on walking zombies with 500 to 1,000 word vocabularies on a good day. They don't get it. They're not going to slow down because they don't understand slow. They understand only audio and visual amphetamines. Quick, boom, pace, flash, pop, sizzle. It's all pace. It's all cadence. And they get jacked up to a very high pace, a very quick cadence at a young age, and they cannot sit still in front of a book, in front of a teacher, in front of a classroom. All they can do, and once their hormones begin being stirred into the swill that is their actual intellect, and how do you awaken an intellect which is stillborn to begin with, or certainly eviscerated by the time it's 3 or 4, these kids just don't have a chance. And you know, I feel sorry for teachers. I feel very, very sorry, most sorry of all for parents who love their children and who truly are trying, because you're fighting against virtually insurmountable obstacles. You cannot divest your child from what they consider to be normalcy and avoid anything less than a massive fight to the death anymore, because these kids are taught to attack you, to disrespect you, to challenge authority.
That's
Sorry,
right.
Didn't
yes,
mean to go
I mean,
on like that.
You certainly have put it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Beautifully explained, and I wish it didn't have to be explained that way, but you've done it, and it's good.
Well, all right, hold on, gang. We'll be right back in a few minutes. And you folks who really do want to make a difference with your children, who want to save your children, you know what you're going to have to do? Take them out of the damn government schools, cut the television off, let them rediscover their mind, and their minds can develop if they are given a strict and stringent environment in which to let it happen. No slop, no extras. They've got to be pulled back to a truly natural living. And the electronic age is not natural. We'll be right back. Understand what those children think, how they think. Understand the feeling of weakness and insecurity that the vicious, merciless peer pressure now pounds our children with all the time. I mean, these kids are so fickle to each other. It's sickening. There are exceptions,
it's terrible.
but, you know.
And they're being taught to squeal on each other, and
they love to rat on each other.
Oh yeah, but they're getting rewards for doing it down in some of the schools.
Yeah.
Oh, it's disgusting. I mean, they're being made into little totalitarian robots. They're really going to fit beautifully into the system. They'll do whatever, you know, they're required to do.
Well, again, they're not being taught to be individuals. They're taught to be members of the hive, of the group. It's group. Don't leave the group behind. The group is all important. Individual achievement can often and is often viewed as aberrant now.
Oh, yeah,
it is. Mocked. What do you mean you're doing really well with playing your violin? Yeah, come on, let's go party. I mean, it's just, and that's just a crude example, but trust me, kids now who try to excel individually are often excluded and punished by the group that they think is essential to their welfare.
That's right. That's right. Jeff, let me give you a little offer I have for the Christmas season.
Oh, please.
Yeah, it's up through, we can start today, although it's not December 1st yet, but it's going to be for the month of December through the 31st. I'm selling my book half price.
Oh,
and so it's $20 plus the shipping, $27 instead of $47.
Yeah.
And since the wrong number is on my website because we've moved and I haven't changed it, my telephone number, let me give my new number out. And people can call me and put it on their credit card, or they can also send the check to me, and I'll give the address. Have you got a moment for me to do that?
Of course I do.
Okay. My new phone number is 207-737-4730. I better repeat it. I have to do that always, right?
Yep.
207-737-4730. Now, if you go on the web, deliberatedumbingdown.com, you'll see the book is advertised there. You can have a free download if you want, but that's pretty hard to read 700 pages on the internet, but that is free. You can look at it, and you're going to see you're probably going to want to buy it, but you're getting it half price, and the new address for you to send that $27 to is 3, capital D, Research Company, and the address is 519 River Road, 519 River Road, and that is in Dresden, like in Germany, Dresden, Dresden, Maine, M for Mary, E for Edward, 04342. Now, that's 3D Research, 519 River Road, Dresden, Maine, 04342. And you'd write a check for $27, $20 for the book, that's half price, and $7 shipping. So that's a really good deal, and I wish that people would buy that and get it to their friends. They could even, buy a couple of them, get the book out, because it's got everything in it that you need now to understand what is happening, not just in education, but politically as well.
Politically, Charlotte, we had an election, and you notice thank goodness it was momentary, elation that, the Democrats have been elected. They're going to rescue the nation. Yeah, I know.
Even I was a little bit elated to see the Republicans get a little, nut egg on their face.
Well, they just
whatever.
changed T-shirts. Come on.
Yeah.
We're not going to get. Look, Nancy Pelosi, Hoyer, one of the two
Danny
of the
Hoyer.
biggest Zionists in the
I know.
Congress.
It could even get worse.
That's what I was going to suggest. I'm not predicting anything is going to improve, frankly. I think if we're lucky, we'll stay in a status quo. But we've got the draft now going to be reintroduced by good old Charlie Rangel. And John Conyers assures us that there'll be no impeachment. The wax man says, don't worry, we'll have some hearings, but there'll be no subpoenas.
Isn't it something?
I mean, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
They must have all, met together and made some sort of an agreement that they just were going to lay down their arms, if they ever had any. That they were just going to become paralyzed as far as elected officials are concerned.
Well, I've made it quite clear that I will give this new Congress 4 weeks to introduce at least half a dozen incredibly important bills reversing such trivialities as the Patriot Act, the Son of Patriot Act, and half a dozen other outrages that are literally like out-of-control cancers now, are rooting out what's left of the substance and fiber of this republic of ours.
You're right, Jeff.
Unless these are introduced, we'll know. I mean, I think even the average American will know that nothing's going to change. I expect a few environmental bills to try to be put forward to try to take up the spotlight and make the media, give the media something to chew on, play games. Let's reduce emissions. Well, they'll reduce emissions. They'll propose 10%. It'll end up being 5%. Any substantive legislation is going to end up bottled up in a committee where it will die a slow and unceremonial death.
Absolutely.
That's my feeling.
It's so sad that we can't really have much hope anymore. I mean, aside from a miracle,
They're
and
not
I don't know
slowing
why.
down. Again, I go back to what I said. Excuse me. I go
Yeah.
back to what I said earlier. They are not slowing down one iota.
Oh no,
I don't care who's in the White House.
no, it doesn't make any difference.
This agenda is being pushed 27 hours a day
Yep.
on multiple fronts, and they'll
Yeah.
take 5 steps forward and be pushed back 3 or 4. They don't care because every time they ratchet, they've moved forward something. And they push and they push and they push, and the courts are just dreadfully controlled. And I don't know.
Well, I think that the fact that the Congress is just doing absolutely nothing about this, the Security and Prosperity Partnership, which
What, the
is
North American Union?
The North American Union, and there are a couple of. This is an interesting article. I don't know where it appeared, but it was by Doug Hornig. Did you see it?
No.
Recently, last week, I think. I'm not sure because I'm on dial-up now. I don't have my high speed.
That's what you
and my
get for moving
computer's
in the country.
a real mess. But I do. These quotes are unbelievable from 2 individuals, one Canadian, one U.S., and actually it's mainly conservatives, real ones in the United States, and primarily liberals in Canada who fear for the integrity of their countries. Now, on this side of the border, investigative journalist Jerome Corsi, you've read his stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. He states flatly that what we have with this Security and Prosperity Partnership of North America,
NAU.
Yeah, NAU, which is really what it is. What we really have is a new bureaucracy that is far advanced in putting together a new regional infrastructure, creating a shadow trilateral bureaucracy with Mexico and Canada that is aggressively rewriting a wide range of U.S. administrative law, all without congressional oversight or public disclosure, end quote. Now, Canadian Mary Sue Halliburton of the Center for Research on Globalization, she says, I think it's pretty good what she said, whether it is only a new layer of government that will be overlaid on top of existing ones, or whether the unified administration will ultimately replace the existing 3 governments in Ottawa, Washington, and Mexico City, it represents a violent shakeup of the ground we thought we had under our feet. A tsunami of daily life consequences will flood over everyone, as well as all areas of financial and social law are to be harmonized. I think that's very good. Now, this is what's going on while the Congress does
Nothing.
nothing.
Zero. No, and I predict they will do nothing. You watch. No, nothing. Not going to do anything. The NAU is the harmonizing, the homogenizing of the United States of America. It's like the EU. I still can't believe
It's the same thing.
I still don't believe, Charlotte, we're almost out of time here, how easily 1,000 years, 1,500 years of European history was steamrolled and pushed into the hopper by the EU. I don't understand it. Nationalism, of course, is the arch enemy of globalism, but they somehow successfully subverted nationalism, national pride, and all the great cultural achievements of the many countries of Europe.
Unbelievable.
And now they're flooding them with illegal aliens like they're doing to us. It's the same tactic, precisely.
Exactly, and we're going to get every other regional consolidation going on in the world is modeled after the European Union, whether it's us or whether it's the Pacific Rim or in Africa or definitely the Middle East. That's why they've got to destroy Iraq. Yep. So anyway, Jeff, always thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Take care. Happy holidays to you.
You too.
Take care. Good night.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Well, everybody fell for the language. The situation had been created, such a, dumbed-down society, and that's not the people's fault. But, people, they deliberately dumbed the people down so that then they would accept anything from the government and the change agents, the foundations, which was intended to take them back to academics and basics, and the people fell for all that semantic deception. And while the money went in and they kept with their restructuring, more restructuring, we've just had within the past month another restructuring effort, which is the final nail in the coffin, which we can talk about tonight. that's what happened. That's how they took us, because people kept thinking that all the efforts being made, especially by Republicans, that's what made people think it was going to be good.
Right.
And I've always tried to inform people it's just the opposite, huh? Oh, how sad. I didn't used to feel that way. But anyway, that's what happened. And they were talking about reading, the Reading Excellence Act, all of these accountability, all these words, excellence, effective schools, not knowing effective schools means dog training schools, effective, EFF, Sure, if you give your dog a dog biscuit, he'll sit. It works. A lot of programs were called What Works?
Yep.
Well, what does work? I know one thing that works. If you give your dog a biscuit, he probably is going to sit. My dachshund doesn't always do it, but
well, it's because he can't. He's too long.
Yeah, that's right. Too close to the floor.
That's right.
And anyway, that's what's happened. And the most nauseating thing that I've yet seen, that they are so blatant, is the latest. I've been getting Education Week since 1981, and it really is worth getting because it's the journal that goes into the hands of all the governors, the superintendents, the president, the secretary, et cetera, right? And some teachers, and of course I got in on it right in the beginning. But
sure.
This is called, they put this out once a year. It's called Quality Counts. Quality, you should question that word too. Quality Counts 2007. And it's with support from the Pew Center on the States, of course, lousy tax-exempt foundation.
Right.
And this is Education Week, and people can go and get it at www.edweek.org. And the date on it is January 14. And this one particular journal, or whatever you'd like to call it, is $10. It's about 14, the reason I'm telling you all this is that we'll know in a second, about 14 or 16 inches high and 14 wide or something. And the cover, I almost dropped dead. It's almost a life-size baby. And he's with his back towards the viewer, the reader, lovely child. And he has a little diaper on. And he's, how children can sit like frogs.
Yeah.
He's got his little legs to the right and left, and he's sitting, and his back, beautiful little head. And then it's in color. Looks like a real little infant, I'd say about 2 months old max.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of this article, and this huge article within this journal, is From Cradle to Career. And then it says, and you know what? When I would talk about this, Jeff, through the years, they say, she's just, cut it out. Why do you make up such? Well, anyway, From Cradle to Career, connecting American education from birth through adulthood.
Jeez, well, that takes care of the whole scenario.
It does, and if anybody thinks that what you and I have been talking about has been off the wall, well, I'll tell you, we haven't been enough off the wall.
No, we haven't been. And if anybody actually thinks that and is still listening, I guess we have to give them credit for either being somewhat honestly skeptical or masochistic, because we've been telling them this for, honestly, how many? It's close to 10 years. And it's everything you said, Charlotte, everything you projected. And you're not into the prediction business. You simply project on the basis of facts, which you deal with in your book.
Yep.
Every single thing has come to pass. When I see our young people today, and I mean our intelligent young people, there's no active intellectual process, the likes of which their parents and their grandparents used to engage in. It's just not there. They're reactive. They're smart. They have high IQs, but that has nothing to do with cognitive ability, in my opinion, in terms of actually interacting with the world around them.
Right.
They're not proactive. They are reactive, and that's a tragedy.
Well, they haven't been taught how to really think. Of course, television and video games and everything else has contributed to this pathetic blank stare and their inability to communicate. Even, with one another.
Excuse me, I got to cut in here, dear friend. Please forgive me. I'll sit back. I honestly, I hear young people talk, and some of them want to be scientists and doctors, and I admire that. We love that. We love to hear goal-oriented people of any age. But But then I listen to the conversational skills, or I see the writing skills, which you have spent a career watching. And I lament for these poor people, because if in fact they do achieve their goals, they will do so in a medium that is now so incredibly poor and substandard that we're all going to suffer as a nation continually from it. These kids are 50 years ago. The average high school senior was more mentally competent, more wise, more informed than the average university graduate today. That's a fact.
That's so true. And, there's a 3 or 4 page document at AmericanDeception.com. And people can go to it. It's called, you can type into the search engine up top, little block up top, go to AmericanDeception.com. Type in the word Hignite, Hignite, and up will pop a civics, a government test on the Constitution in 1956 in California.
Hignite. All right, hold on. Let me do this.
Yes.
This is Charlotte's other site, her American
it's a
Deception.
wonderful site, and we need help there, folks. Donations, please, because we've exceeded we keep exceeding the band length, width, and we keep having to pay, and please help us out, huh?
All right, there it is. Now, I've got it. In fact, I titled your visit tonight, American Deception. So let's go up to the search engine. There it is.
Yeah.
Hignite. What does Hignite mean? H-I-G?
That's his name. That's the name of the fellow who got 99 on this test, and it was the most difficult test. And you see his own handwriting there.
This is N-I-G-H-T?
Hignite, I think.
All right. All right, I'm going there. Let's see.
Kenny Hignite, I think.
Constitution test, Kenny Hignite.
That's
eighth grade.
Yep.
It's a PDF. Download now.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a 1954 test on the U.S. Constitution.
Yep.
Which Kenny Hignite got a 98.5 out of 100. Now, all right, Tell us what happened here. What's going on? I can't pull it up right at the moment.
You can't? Okay. Well, it's very difficult. He's named every cabinet official. He's given the Bill of Rights. He's explained what it is, what the separation of powers is, who the president was, vice president. Can you imagine? And he got one wrong, I think, and so out of 100, and so he got a 99. And I could never have passed that. Even back then.
Well, we've seen the Kansas high school senior graduate proficiency test from 1890-something.
Yes, that's right. And then we've seen that was unbelievable. That was just, nobody could pass that. But this is great.
Hey, nobody could read it today, let alone pass it. No,
couldn't read it. But, Jeff, what's interesting, we have so much up on that website. It's just, 199 incredible entries, books, scanned documents and all. But that Hignite test has had more hits than just about anything else because people really have been fascinated with that.
Here it is. I just got it. It's a PDF. I'm going to take a glance at this.
His handwriting's pretty atrocious, but he sure is smart.
Oh, the hell with the handwriting. It's the brain that counts. Yeah, oh, my. Very good. All right, we'll go through this in just a minute.
Don't you love that?
That's great. All right, stand by. My guest is Charlotte Iserbyt, and we'll be right back. They don't understand the true difference between the House and Senate. They don't understand how bills are introduced. They don't understand when a bill is introduced, it means nothing. They don't understand committees. They don't understand filibuster. They don't understand even if the House and Senate jointly agree on a compromise bill, send it on to the president, and he can just veto it and blow it off. And then when it goes back to the House, there's not enough for an override or the Senate. They don't understand these things, and these are bright people.
That's right.
And they say, well, the Democrats are going to force Bush. They're not going to force anybody.
No.
That's not how it works anymore, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, Kenny Hignite, God bless him. I wonder what happened to him. But
I don't know where he is, and I wish I knew where the guy is who gave it to me. But I lost his name. I was at a conference, and he gave it to me and said, I thought you might like this. Well, I sure did, and I wish he knew that it was up on that website. I don't know where that fellow is. I don't know where Kenny is. I did look up the name Hignite. I got nowhere on the internet. But anyway, he's become very famous.
This is folks. This is an 8th grade test.
Yep.
This is 8th grade, 1954. I'll just mention the questions here.
Yeah.
First, list the cabinet positions and the people who hold these positions at the present time.
Mm-hmm.
He nails it. Secretary of State, John Foster Dulles, Secretary of right on down the list. All of them. They're all there.
Mm-hmm.
Just blowing my ear. All right. Number 2, give the names of the justices of the Supreme Court.
Yep.
He names all 9 of them.
Yep.
Just nails it. Tell the provisions of each of the amendments to the American Constitution.
Oh, have you ever?
So what he did here is First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment. He wrote exactly what each one does. Real simple. He's got it. Every one. And then what is the Bill of Rights? The first 10 amendments. Who is the President of the United States? Dwight D. Eisenhower. Who's the Vice President? What is an unwritten law? 2 things necessary to any good government. The plan of government for the U.S. is... Now, this would be a perfect question. You and I could go out and do a man on the street or a person on the street interview.
I know.
All right, and just go up. Can you please tell us what is the plan of government for the United States?
Yep.
What is the plan for the government of the United States? How does it work? What's the plan?
Yep.
And I'll bet you, I won't even bother to bet.
No.
95% of the people won't get it.
No.
The answer is the plan of government of the United States is the Constitution.
Yes.
It's the plan. That's what it is. A law is declared unconstitutional by the President chooses a cabinet in order to. The Constitution grants all lawmaking powers to. Now, if you were to ask people that, the Constitution grants all lawmaking powers to. How many Americans would get that right? I'll bet not many.
No.
The answer is the Congress.
Right.
And then he goes, the 2 houses of the Congress, the number of representatives from each state is determined by, I can just see Americans just...
Duh.
That's it. The Speaker of the House is the number of senators from each state is, and I'll bet most Americans don't know that.
I bet they don't. They probably wonder why California has 2 and you've got 2.
And that's right. That's right. Okay. And a senator is elected for how many years? I'll bet the majority of Americans on the street don't know that.
Yep.
And the reason is, dear friends, they are not being forced to discipline their minds and study and learn.
Difficult.
It's too damn difficult. No child left behind. Let's just lower that bar, drop that common denominator, and push them along.
That's right.
No demand for performance, and what's worse, no accountability.
Yep. No,
these kids are dumber than a fence post.
Yep. They are, and they just keep moving ahead. And I don't know if you're aware of the latest thing, the new report, a top-to-bottom overhaul of the U.S. education and training system to help Americans compete in a global economy. This has just come out. It's Tough Choices or Tough Times, a report unveiled December 14 by a prominent panel of, the usual suspects. Former Secretaries of Education, Labor, retired governors and mayors, state and local all of them. And here we go again. And I would like to just mention what some of the most important part of it. Teachers will be employed by the state rather than districts. State, not local financing of education. Schools will no longer be run by the districts or school boards, but by independent contractors.
Gosh.
Hear me?
I do. I don't know if I can link to a PDF. If I can't, if I can get permission, I'd love to bring it over here with a point right back to your site and put it up on Rense.com. Bravo to him. Let's see. If I can do a little bit of this. It's not too long. Concurrent resolution. Expressing the sense of Congress that the United States should not engage in the construction of a North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, superhighway system, or enter into a North American Union with Mexico and Canada, whereas the United States Departments of State, Commerce, and Homeland Security participated in the formation of the Security and Prosperity Partnership, the SPP, on March 23, 2005, representing a trilateral agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, designed, among other things, to facilitate common regulatory schemes between these countries, whereas reports issued by the SPP indicate that it has implemented regulatory changes among the three countries that circumvent United States trade, transportation, homeland security, and border security functions, and that the SPP will continue to do so in the future, whereas the actions taken by the SPP to coordinate border security by eliminating obstacles to migration. Let me read that again. Whereas the actions taken by the SPP to coordinate border security by eliminating obstacles to migration between Mexico and the United States actually makes the United States-Mexico border even less secure, because Mexico is the primary source of illegal immigrants into the United States. Whereas, according to the Department of Commerce, United States trade deficits with Mexico and Canada have significantly increased since the implementation of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and whereas the economic and physical security of the United States is impaired by the potential loss of control of its borders attendant to the full operation of NAFTA and the SPP, whereas the regulatory and border security changes implemented and proposed by the SPP violate and threaten United States sovereignty, whereas a NAFTA superhighway system from the west coast of Mexico through the United States and into Canada has been suggested as part of a North American Union to facilitate trade between the SPP countries, and whereas the state of Texas has already begun planning the Trans-Texas Corridor, a major multimodal transportation project beginning at the U.S.-Mexico border, which would serve as an initial section of a NAFTA superhighway system. And he goes on from there. You can read it at Rense.com. So, he says, resolved by the United States House of Representatives, the Senate concurring, that 1. The United States should not engage in the construction of a North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, superhighway system. 2. The United States should not allow the Security and Prosperity Partnership, SPP, to implement further regulations that would create a North American Union with Mexico and Canada. And 3. The President of the United States should indicate strong opposition to these acts or any other proposals that threaten the sovereignty of the United States. That is the conclusion of this short powerhouse bill, H.R. 40, which is now in the Congress, introduced by Representative Virgil H. Good, Jr., Republican, Virginia, 5th District. Bravo, Representative Good. Let's support this man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, folks, look, this is the difference between continuing to have a constitutional representative form of government in our country, abiding by the Constitution, and having a regional form of government, which is communism. And if anybody questions that, remember what Gorbachev said in London about 4 years ago, when describing the European Union, upon which this union that George Bush is putting in is based. He referred to the European Union as the new European Soviet. So what we're looking at is the North American Union not the new American Soviet? Do you like that?
Can you spell collectivism?
Yes. I mean, really, do Americans understand?
No.
How, maybe they figure because it's taken a while to get here, that it's going to continue to take a while to get right to the end. No, we're here. We're here, but there's still time with this legislation that Representative Good has submitted. There is time, and we could stop it. It is outrageous. Lou Dobbs has been great. Jerome Corsi, my article, Jeff, The Devil's Seven-Pronged Fork.
Had it up for over a week, in featured stories. Excellent.
You've had it, and now it is finally, I'm funny about how I forget to put things on my own website. It's finally at deliberatedumbingdown.com, my primary website. It's up with you. It's at News with Views. Please, folks, get the Devil's Seven-Pronged Fork, read it, how we've been taken to the cleaners over a period of 200 years, diabolical, and copy it and get it out. Because if you don't know, me too, we've all been taken. All of us, we've all been victimized by the elitists who had it all planned how they were going to do it. And it's the 7 prongs. And we can go into that later after the break. How long can you keep me on tonight?
Another one more segment after this. That's all.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I just want to know what we should cover.
Yeah. Now, if I direct people to American Deception, to the 8th grade test by that fine young man named Hignite, you're going to burn down. So I might, with your permission, pull it over and put it up here.
Yeah, you. I might not have the bandwidth.
No, it'll burn you down. Believe me, you'll pay through the nose. Too many people will go.
I know, because we were having a problem there. Yeah. So many people going onto our website that we keep having to expand it. Right. And I want people to go there, but not for that particular thing, because if it's going to burn us down, we don't need that.
No,
you put it up on yours. I'd love to have you put it up.
Yeah, thanks. I will.
As long as you give us credit.
Oh, come on. Come on, you're talking to me now. Bye-bye school boards.
Oh yeah, well they've been planning this for quite a while. It's Paul Hill out of the Rand Corporation. He's been involved in experimenting with it. Actually, the charter school concept really was the
I remember where that started. That started about, let me think, 15 years ago, I guess.
Yes, and, like school choice has always been the vehicle by which they would implement the Soviet Polytech system. That's what we're looking at. When you turn the schools over to the corporations, which is what a private contractor would be, what you're getting is a public-private partnership, which there's no accountability there, absolutely zero. The people have lost control. The funding is going to be coming directly from the state, and of course there's a quote here from the National School Board Association, describing the report as groundbreaking, but they always have to say something nice, huh? But goes on to question how much ground can be broken without destroying what works in American education. In particular, she cautioned against reducing local community involvement and contracting with outside organizations to operate schools rather than have districts run schools themselves. This article in Education Week, December 20th, 2006, you can get it on the Internet. It's extremely important because this is, the new wave. I mean, we've been through the restructuring, Mark Tucker, the accountability movement, the standards movement. We've been through all of that. No Child Left Behind. And No Child Left Behind is the international education for all. Mm-hmm. This is an international plan that every country is implementing the same thing. But the United States is always in the vanguard because so much of the research comes out of our think tanks. Right. But this is for folks who still believe that the schools are going to be focusing on academics. It's finished. Absolutely finished with. The majority of children will be getting out of school at age 16 and going on to community colleges or workforce training. The rest of them will stay in, who are the brighter ones. We have to admit there are some brighter ones, huh? And
wait a minute now. How dare you say that? All men and women are created equal, and you know that.
Oh, my goodness me, I did say it. That was a boo-boo.
Watch out now.
But anyway, they are admitting that there are some there, and they're going to stay in and graduate and go right into college. And it's a completely new, there's so much here that I can't cover. I mean, there's 3 long pages. There's one part that bothers me very much. It says, create regional economic development authorities. Have the federal government support states and localities in setting up authorities that combine economic development, adult education, and job training.
That's part of communitarianism.
Yes, absolutely. And then I have to point out that Maine, we're always in the vanguard, believe it or not. I don't know. I guess we're so dumb they can get away with anything up here. But anyway, sorry, Vayners, but you all know that too. Anyway, we have Ed Week did an article on us too, being the first state to really move towards consolidation. Our superintendent, actually, our state superintendent and the governor are in major trouble with the superintendents, with the education system here right now, because the recommendation coming out of the governor, and he really is far out. He was worse, his voting record, than Ted Kennedy's when he was in the Congress. His name is Baldacci, and he has always loved regionalism, which is communism, by the way. I have that quote from the communist writer in the Daily World saying we didn't move fast enough towards regionalism. Worked so well in the Soviet Union. Anyway, it says Baldacci is proposing 26 regional school units statewide with 26 superintendents compared to, this is the important thing, folks, listen, 26 regional school units, 26 superintendents compared to what we now have, which is 152 superintendents and 290 school units. We're moving from 290 to 26. Now, that means that, it's going to be a total, I don't know what the word is, restructuring?
Well, it's consolidation.
Revolution.
Yeah, it's a revolutionary consolidation of the whole concept of a spontaneous, individualistic, nurturing school system, a healthy, vibrant state with lots of diversity. They don't want that.
And we're the number one state. So you may think, she's just talking about Maine. No, you're going to get it next. We're the pilot.
Yeah, well, I did a program a couple of months ago on communitarianism, which is so important, and I hope all of you will.
Did you do one with Nikki?
Of course.
Oh, yeah. You know, the communitarianism, that's what we have been watching ever since, it started the beginning of the last century. That's community ed. And she's done, that she appeared on the scene made me so happy because I could sort of drop the subject a little bit because she marched ahead and broke so much new ground. I'm glad you've had her on.
Oh, she hadn't hardly done any radio at all, and I found her living she lives in a remote part of Alaska.
Yeah.
She's way far away from it all.
Right.
Nikki Rapana.
Yeah.
And the program was December 6th in the archives, and I would urge all of you to listen to those 2 hours. It will blow your mind.
Yes, I'm sure it will. And she's, when someone like that comes along, I think they're an angel.
She is.
She's an angel because a lot of us have been, a lot of community ed stuff. A major paper by Ruth Feld, F-E-L-D, is on at AmericanDeception.com. It probably was the finest paper ever done on community education. And I urge people to go to AmericanDeception.com and type in the search engine Feld, F-E-L-D, or community education. She did the whole history of it. It's all there. It is absolutely brilliant with quotes that will blow your head off.
Wow. Well, I hope it doesn't go that far, but
no kidding. When you read the quotes, because if you go back into the history of this.
Well, see, that's where your forte has always shown, and that's putting the quotes down, the data, the facts.
Oh yeah,
what people said.
They were so open about it in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah. Yep. I know. It's amazing. Well, good. Yeah, Nikki Rapana is, I've noticed a few people, you know what, another thing that is a sign of the times, it's sad, Tom Lehrer did a wonderful song about it. It's plagiarism. He said, plagiarize, let no one's work evade your eyes. Plagiarize.
I love that.
So what they're doing here, a lot of people, is they'll glom onto somebody else's shtick and rewrite it and put their name on it. And, I guess in some ways it's okay, but it's immoral as hell.
Yep.
But when the message is so crucial, all we can do is hope that some attribution is given. But Nikki Rapana is the pioneer.
Oh yes, I'm just so thrilled with what she's done. And another person who's just done pioneer work that has just come out of the woodwork, sort of, is Debbie Niwa, who did the Emerging New American Union. Take a look at that. That's on AmericanDeception.com. She has traced the history, spent 6 years on this, from 1921 to 2006, and she does good work with graphics, too. And you will see the whole thing there. A lot of good work's been done on NAU, right? But hers is remarkable, Jeff. You ought to take a look. I'm sure she'd love to have you post that.
Well, send it to me, will you?
Well, you can get it right off of the my website.
Okay, it's there now?
Yeah, and actually, people who read this Devil's Seven-Pronged Fork, they can click on American Deception, and that will pull up. You just type NIWA into the search engine of AmericanDeception.com.
Spell NIWA for our listeners.
NIWA.
All right.
And when you get the website pops up, just type her name in, and or you can NIWA.
All right. Just so everyone's got it.
You can type the whole title of her article is
right.
Emerging North American Union.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's brilliant. So that as you were saying, I mean, Nikki has done these are people who have just recently come on board, and they're brilliant, and that gives me hope. I mean, I've been in this, you've been in it for how long? And all of a sudden to have these, I call them geniuses, appearing on the scene, because I'm getting sort of tired. And I'll keep fighting, but it's so wonderful to have.
She's got that energy that we all started out with, and she shines, and she's tough, and she's resilient, and she's got a message for everybody out there. What an incredible revelatory appearance she made on the program.
I've got to go. I'll go look that up.
On December 6th, go listen to it. You're in the archives, right? You can hear the archives. You can hear the archives, can't you?
I can get the archive.
Well, go listen to it then.
I can't do it now because I've got my computer in our bedroom.
Well, all right.
And my husband's asleep.
We'll do it tomorrow.
I will.
And please, share it with